Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we've got a big dose of Acolyte news for you today. We've got several stories, but the lead story is that Disney did not pay women as much as they paid men.
Right. The force is female, but not when it comes to the paychecks.
Right. So we're going to talk about that it came out that women were getting paid less to work on this show. We're going to talk about Filoni apparently signing off on some of the controversial changes on the show. We're going to talk about Leslye Headland trying to walk it back after saying it was the gayest Star Wars ever. She's like, well, I didn't mean that gay.
Yeah, not with a capital Q.
Not with a capital Q.
You know, you're just making stuff up about the lesbian space witches.
So we're going to talk about it because this thing is coming off the rails. Now, that's the story. The story isn't the show itself. The show itself is objectively terrible, right? A lot of people. I don't think there's
much objecting in there, but okay.
It's just saying, like, there are people that are like, hey, yeah, don't attack and harass the people working on the show, but the show is awful. It really is awful.
Don't attack or harass people who like the show because you don't want them to harass you. But
right.
Don't harass those who don't like it because they've got good reason.
Like, nobody likes the show. And that actually came up in one of the stories we're going to cover too, that, who's to blame for the review bombing? And they're like, no, it's the show's terrible.
Yes, exactly.
That's why people are downvoting it. The show is objectively terrible.
She brings up, on the one article we're going to talk about, Caroline Reed, she brings up about the fact that some of the reviews, even from the media, the critics, aren't that glowing, but they're counting it as positive.
No, and they're trying to defend the numbers, and we will point out again that the numbers are not good for Star Wars. First week, it had the second lowest opening ever, and Andor had pretty low viewership too. I guess they're doing the season 2.
Yeah, they were going to do one, yeah.
But the thing about Andor is there was like zero promotion for Andor.
There really wasn't a whole lot of promotion for Andor. And that was like the one I was looking forward to. I had to go back and watch it. I watched the first 2 episodes. I never finished it. I'll have to go watch that.
So, I mean, it's pretty sad when what is considered by some people to be the best Disney Star Wars show got buried under a bunch of crap like this. But it's the drama. We're going to talk about the drama. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, you get woohoo if you do.
Woohoo.
And that sums up Disney Star Wars nicely. It's all about the drama. It's like people don't even talk about the stories or the characters or you know what I'm saying? It's all drama. They talk about the drama. So let's talk about it. This is it's coming from Forbes. This is Caroline Reed, who's been very critical of Disney, and she's pointing out that the women are not getting paid as much.
So apparently in the UK, where they filmed a lot of this because they get tax breaks, they have to disclose the pay disparagement between men and women if you have more than 250 employees working on a show. So they said April of 2023, they started putting filings out, and that was when the production was like in full swing. And they said 30% of the 695 employees were female. So that's not even 50%, 30%. And across the entire workforce, women's hourly pay rate was about 19.4% lower than men's. So much for making it, equity and equality and the force is female, because when it comes to actually getting paid and hired, they're not. Now, that being said, I want to make sure there might be specialized jobs that a lot of women just don't want to do, or they don't do, and they have to hire more men for it. And that's completely valid.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that is valid, but it is a bad look when they made such a big deal about how progressive this show was going to be. And we'll talk about Leslye Headland walking it back here in a couple minutes. But that might explain Carrie-Anne Moss not being in it very much because they can't afford to pay her.
I don't know, maybe. Yeah. No, she's in it like in flashbacks.
Flashbacks, yeah. But she probably was one of the highest paid actors, or probably was the highest paid, I would think, on the show. But again, we're just talking the whole staff. So here's what the budget is on this, which I think is kind of crazy.
That's his pre-production budget.
Yeah. They said the pre-production budget of the Acolyte cost $48.5 million. That is twice what Godzilla Minus One cost to make.
That's not per episode. That's just the pre-production and the leading up to it. Per episode, it's been ridiculous too, apparently.
What did they spend this money on? I'm trying to figure it out because it doesn't look very expensive at all. I mean, your average Netflix show looks more expensive. Your average Netflix documentary looks more expensive than this show. Doctor Who looks more expensive than this show. So where is this money going? They said it was more than was spent on the groundwork for Rogue One, which actually had a lot of expensive shots. They had big space battles. They had the Darth Vader fight. I mean, Rogue One looked like they spent money on it, right? Even pre-production costs of the main installments of the Star Wars saga weren't far off from The Acolyte. Disney only spent 17% more on pre-production of The Last Jedi in 2017, and that was a surefire hit. Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks to an A-list cast. So where is this money going? I'm really starting to wonder, like, is there some laundering going on here? Because this does not look like a show that costs that much money.
It's like in Independence Day, you don't think a toilet seat costs $300,000, do you? Or whatever he says. Yeah, they said that the average hourly pay rate of women was 19.4% less. Okay, but it was 13.5% lower when taking the middle number of hourly pay is ranked from the highest to lowest. Okay, so although men outnumber women in the bottom and two middle hour pay bands, 53% of the employees in the highest hourly pay band were also male. So most of the women seem to be in the highest pay band, but they're still outnumbered by men by 3%. But again, it could just be a case of that there's specialized areas that just happen to have more men that are working in that field. So I'm just saying, be fair. But it's a bad look after you made such a huge, ridiculous, the force is female and all that shit. But you said about the reviews, the review bombing. And she brought that up too. She said that while it's the most diverse show out there, it's also led to being branded woke and supposedly the driving force behind plummeting ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. And they're bringing that up. But they said only 4 of the 8 episodes have aired, but if you scroll down some more, they said the low score has been attributed to unjustified review bombing, with the key evidence being the fact the show's Rotten Tomato critic score stands at 85%. However, and we pointed this out before, closely reading the reviews in some of the most prestigious print titles reveals serious structural problems with the show. Most of the pieces are uneven at best, if not simply underwhelming. Rolling Stone. USA said, full of logical fallacies, hokey dialogue, and nonsensical plots. If it's okay when they say it.
Right. The Times of London gave it 2 out of 5 stars, right? So, I mean, this is the thing about Rotten Tomatoes too, is that sometimes these reviews that are very lukewarm, they actually,
count them as fresh.
We've got articles out there like this, who's to blame for the Acolyte review bombing? It's the show's quality. A lot of people are coming out and saying the show's not good. There were people that were like, okay, bigots back off. But they're like, yeah, but the show's not very good.
Well, some of the actors are good actors, just given shit to work with.
I said I watched one episode. I watched episode 3. I gave in to the dark side. I watched episode 3. And I can admit that, the Korean guy, I guess he's from Squid Game. He's actually pretty good.
He's the only reason I would have watched it.
Yeah, he was good. And even the mother witch, I thought she was okay too. But everybody else was just kind of there. So it was like, whatever. But yeah, I mean, that's the same is true of like The Last Jedi too. I mean, I can admit that with what he had to work with, Mark Hamill was pretty okay. I just did not like what they did with Luke Skywalker, right?
But and other actors who got crap. It's like not that they're bad people or bad actors. It's just what they were given to work with was horrible.
Right. But yeah, so people aren't review bombing. I think they're reacting to it. I think this is the only way that the general public knows how to voice their displeasure. I don't think it's a massive organized campaign because a lot of people, honestly, a lot of the hardcore fans have checked out.
Well, I do think it is to some level coordinated. That being said, I think the normies aren't even putting any Rotten Tomatoes. They aren't checking Rotten Tomatoes.
That's what I'm saying,
they just don't watch it. I think that the proof is in the viewership, not in the Rotten Tomatoes scores.
Yeah, so let's we'll talk about Leslye Headland and we'll talk about Filoni here, but they're talking at you go to the very bottom here. All right. They said inequality has been a hot topic for Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy, but not this kind of inequality. Defending Headland's stewardship of the Acolyte in an interview with the New York Times, she said, I think Leslye has struggled a bit with it. I think a lot of women who step into Star Wars struggle with this a bit more. Yeah, because they usually get fired by Kathleen Kennedy. Look at what happened with, was it Patty Jenkins? Didn't she get canned?
Yeah, but I'm thinking like Deborah Chow wasn't seeming to have a whole lot of trouble.
No,
and neither is Bryce Dallas Howard.
No, but they probably don't do what Kathy Kennedy wants. right? Because the fan base being so male dominated, they sometimes get attacked in ways that can be quite personal.
Oh, because it's completely not personal to call every dude who doesn't like it a racist, misogynistic, homophobic, istophobe, whatever. That it's completely impersonal when you do that.
Oh God, this is great. This is how she wraps it up. Before bemoaning the lack of women in the Star Wars fan base, perhaps she should have ensured that the ones who are working behind the scenes on the latest show are getting paid the same as the men. Until that happens, all they can do is continue to hold out for a new hope. Damn. Yeah, Kathy, take your own advice. But yeah, so what's going on with Leslye Headland now? She's doing an interview, or she did an interview where I think it was a Hollywood Reporter, and she said, yeah, you know, it's a very queer show, but it's not queer with a capital Q, and I think people misunderstood what I was saying. But before, she was like, you know, it's the gayest Star Wars ever.
Someone said it's the gayest ever, and she's like, well, I'm into it.
I'm into it.
The thing is, I don't understand how it's not. She's like, you're just making assumptions about the space witches, the lesbian space witches. And I'm like, what assumptions?
It's the whole plot revolves around like
were they women with women space witches?
Yes.
Were they lesbian space witches?
Yes.
Then how were they misinterpreting it?
They were together. It was very clear. They were together making babies with the Force. That's what they were doing. It was all women. There were no men in the witch coven of Force users. And they're in space. They're lesbians in space, and they're witches. I don't know what else you're supposed to call them. You know, they're not Sith, apparently.
No one's calling them capital Q witches.
Capital Q. Yeah, right. So she said, I don't believe I've created queer with a capital Q content.
I like to make fuck you content with a capital F.
She said that the Disney-owned franchise has been criticized for its quote-unquote woke storylines, right? The show's LGBTQ representation has preceded itself, generating a now viral moment where a journalist from The Wrap told Headland and non-binary series star Amandla Stenberg during an interview that the show is arguably the gayest Star Wars by a considerable margin.
Yes, probably because they saw the third episode. The media was given the first 4 episodes.
Right. She said, frankly, I'm into it.
Yeah,
that's what she said.
Yeah. She like accepted it then. And now, oh, that's all what I was trying to do. You're misinterpreting it. She wasn't misinterpreting it when the person from the Hollywood Reporter said it, was she?
No. Okay. So I have to issue an apology. I misnamed it's not Amanda. It's Amandla.
It's Amandla. Yeah.
Okay. I was surprised by the question she said. Amandla and I just burst out laughing because that's our knee-jerk reaction to being asked that, to be honest. But I don't know what the term gay means in that sense. I don't believe I've created queer with capital Q content, but that's been the marketing.
One, the power of two, the power of many. Totally not capital Q.
They're like moaning and writhing and having orgasms and getting pregnant by the Force. It's weird. I mean, even for Star Wars, it's just weird. It's just weird. But no, here's the thing. This is the problem. When you lead with this and you're like, this is the most diverse and inclusive whatever,
You're right. Wait. Finish what you're saying, and then I'll tell you.
Okay, I was just saying it's the most diverse, inclusive, whatever. But go ahead.
Okay,
go ahead.
wait. But then they're talking about this in this article. The narrative in question implied that 2 powerful witches belonging to an all-female society use Force magic to generate their female offspring. Wait, but they said the narrative in question, because they're saying people are mad about the overt LGBTQ propaganda of the space witches. But they said that it was implied.
Yes.
The narrative in question, is implied. It was implied that the 2 witches, but that was all women, and they used magic to get knocked up. It was just implied that they're Q with a capital Q, or queer with a capital Q. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Headland slammed the reading of the episode, telling the outlet they're in a matriarchal society. As a gay woman, I knew it would read that their sexuality is queer. They explicitly said it.
But there aren't any men.
There are no men.
Okay, here's the thing. Matriarchal society, yes, but you would still be implied that there would be dudes. Just like a patriarchal society has women. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they have like man sluts.
When you have no men and a bunch of women all together, writhing and everything, chanting to get knocked the fuck up, then that would imply that they're into women and that they're lesbians and that's what their culture is. And they're only women. That's what it would imply. I'm sorry.
The show's not gay. It's just women.
But it went from I'm into it. It's the gayest show ever. Yeah, woohoo. To oh no, that's not what I meant.
Okay.
No, that is what you meant, Headland. You were in self-insert.
Here's the problem. The problem is that's not the main issue that people are having. The problem is the show is dog shit. And it's not Star Wars. It doesn't feel like Star Wars. It messes with the continuity, and you're not allowed to say it, because if you say it, you're a bigot, because they got so they
I
like
want to say it.
so they like the shield when it's convenient. So this tells me what's going on is this thing is not performing, and she has to go out and do damage control. Why would you do another interview and be like, well, it's gay, but I know I said it was super gay, but it's not really that gay. It's like, no, because the numbers aren't good and people are laughing at this thing. It's a laughing stock of Star Wars. And I have a feeling that a lot of these Disney Plus shows in the years to come will just be retconned out of existence.
Well, it was interesting to me that Filoni, it was all, had to prove it all.
Yeah.
Allegedly. Yeah.
So let's talk about this, because I don't believe that Dave Filoni is quite the hero that people are trying to make him out
When they
to
were
be.
originally, like when it was Favreau and Filoni, and Favreau was kind of taking the reins, I think people were like, "Oh, we see some
Favreau,
hope."
yes.
But now that Filoni, but I remember even saying then, I'm like, but Filoni was like up Rian Johnson's ass. I remember he was like, I was on set and Rian Johnson showed me how to do stuff, and Rian Johnson's the greatest, bestest ever. Yeah. And I was like, that's concerning.
And I don't really believe. I mean, he has positioned himself as George Lucas's Padawan. But I don't think George Lucas has ever come out and said explicitly that Dave Filoni was the guy, right? The guy that I'm giving all of my Star Wars experience, knowledge, passing the baton to. I think it's just just kind of made that assumption himself.
Plus, he's surviving Kathleen Kennedy's Star Wars, where other people like Favreau and stuff are gone all of a sudden, or whatever, or they're sidelined, because he knows whose ass to kiss and what what lines to tote, or toe or whatever, to get what he wants.
Yeah, and that's the problem. So a lot of people are like, well, he's just kind of laying low and biding his time. And like, no, he's not. No, he's not. He's like the creative director, so he would have had to have signed off on all this. And it does. I mean, regardless of what you think about breaking canon, the whole show is stupid. The whole concept is stupid. The High Republic is stupid. It's dumb. And anybody with half a brain at Disney would have looked at this and been like, yeah, audiences aren't going to be into this. Let's take the worst part of the Phantom Menace, just kind of milling about, talking about politics and the Jedi Order and all that crap, and make a whole show out of it. But we don't even have Liam Neeson, to carry it along. We don't even have Yoda. It's just like, what the hell? See, I remember, guys, this totally is not a Sith. Red lightsaber, black mask, dark side powers, totally not a Sith, guys. So it doesn't break canon at all.
No, yeah.
I think it's weird. They had the little girls that played Osha and May. They looked different in episode 3, and apparently they're supposed to be identical twins, played by the same woman. Like, I don't get it, because they didn't look the same when they were kids.
Yeah, I saw pictures of the kids. They didn't look the same.
No, I could tell them apart. I could tell the kids apart. I'm like, so wait, I thought that she was like, is she playing the same? She's playing both twins. It's like, yeah, apparently she is. But good luck with this. I do believe in years to come that Disney will have to reset Star Wars, or ignore some of this canon just to clean it up, just to make it presentable. And this is definitely one of the first things that I could see them cutting and just be like, yeah, this isn't canon anymore, guys, because it's dumb. But none of it is, right? I mean, at the end of the day, only G canon counts. Only the stuff that George did counts. And sorry, I do not believe for a minute that Filoni is his heir to his empire at all. So we're gonna wrap it up.
I saw what you did there. Yeah, go ahead.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, and we'll talk later.
Bye.